Bases are loaded for Mitch Haniger.
Haniger strikes out swinging on the splitter. Big first down for Gausman. Now Frazier, pop up. Right side of the infield. Guerrero wants it. He'll take it. Infield fly rule was called. 2 down. And John Schneider's coming out. He's going to go to the bullpen. And Kevin Gausman's going to get a big ovation.
Good job, Gausman. Good job. Good job.
There are 3 base runners with 2 out.
In the dirt, and it kicks away from Jansen. That'll score a run for the Mariners. Ty France comes in. It's 8-2.
Counted 1-1.
Ty France comes in. It's 8-2.
Counted 1-1. Next pitch swung on a deep drive, left field, backing up. Tapia, he's looking on the track, and that is gone.
Out this at bat.
Crawford to center field, not deep. Sprinting in Springer, and Bichette and Springer collide. The ball falls, and everybody's going to score. The Mariners have tied the game, and now Bichette and Springer are laid out in the outfield.
The pitch of the way, swinging a line drive into right field. Down the line and toward the corner, a base hit. Cal being waved around third. He'll score. Frazier in at second with a 2-out RBI double. Claps his hands, and the Mariners, for the first time in the ball game, have a 10-9 miraculous lead. He makes the catch, and the ball game is over. The Mariners win the wild card series. They're going to Houston to take on the Astros.
You know what? It was still a hell of a year. Congratulations, Toronto Blue Jays, on a fantastic season. Wish it could have ended better, but that's the way it goes. Congratulations, Mariners, on the win. Call it an epic collapse by us or an epic comeback from you, but not easy to come back from 8-1. So good on you. And Cindy, no hard feelings. Sorry about what happened in the ALDS. I guess we can both agree. Getting swept sucks. Anyway, this month on GameStop Canada, we're going to be doing another re-review, as it were. This was a show that I did review in a written entry on the old website. And I figured it's time that we look back at it again, give it a second look, and see if there's any new information out there. In honor of what happened in the wildcard round, let's look back at Pitfall.
Today, every wrong step could bring disaster as our players attempt to cross this bridge and win a prize package worth over $5,000. Watch now as they brave the dangers to win a fortune on Pitfall. Hey, June, you've been here often enough to know you're standing on a pitfall. And Mona, now you know you are too. And now here's the man to guide you through all the pitfalls, Alex Trebek.
Thank you, John Barton. Hi, everyone. In just a moment, I'm going to go down there to join our 2 contestants. But first, let me remind all of you about our rules. I ask the questions. These people in the audience come up with the answers using little selector switches at each seat. The results are tabulated instantly on a computer, and then our players have to figure out what the audience's number 1 response was. A tough job? We'll find out right now as we meet the players.
Pitfall was a popular Canadian game show that ran for about a season in 1981 and was canceled in 1982. It was popular
but only had a short run because of a very troubled production. But it wasn't widely remembered for its very futuristic-looking set that included 8 working elevators. And I'll get into how they play into the game in just a moment. The host of the show was the late great Alex Trebek, and he is joined by John Barton, who serves as the announcer and also as one of the executive producers of the show. Apparently, during one of the pilots, in a sign of things to come, there was a completely different format that had celebrities standing in the elevators answering questions in a sort of Hollywood Squares-like game. But this ended up being a disaster because one of the celebrities ended up ignoring producers' warnings to not touch the caged area on top of the elevators, did so anyway and got his fingers crushed, threatening to sue. So this pretty much encouraged him to change formats and get rid of the celebrities. For the series, there were no celebrities involved. Instead, the main game worked as follows. It was a simple audience survey game. The audience would be asked a question, and 4 possible answers would be posted. All the questions are opinion-based. Each of the contestants would then try to predict what would be the most popular answer, alternating first and second pick. If either contestant does identify the most popular answer, they score a point. In addition, the contestants also earn a pit pass for their first, third, and fifth points. The game continues until one contestant has scored 5 points, or until a 5-minute time limit expires. The winner moves on to the bonus game. The bonus game is pretty much what everyone remembers about the show. The big bridge with the 8 elevators. To begin, the contestant starts by watching a light show, in which each of the elevators is lit at random. However, in the sequence, the 3 pitfalls will light up twice, while the safe sections light up only once. Based on this information, the contestant chooses their pit passes. And then the game begins. The contestant is given 100 seconds, and Alex starts firing a series of questions at them. Every time they answer a question correctly, they earn the right to move forward 1 section on the bridge. If the section is safe, the game continues. If, however, the section is a pitfall, the elevator will bring them down to the pitfall, which costs them about 10 seconds of time, and they'll have to answer a question in order to get back into the game. And once they do answer correctly, the clock is stopped while they're brought back up. For each section the contestant safely reaches, they earn $100. And if they can clear the entire bridge before the clock runs out, then they win the grand prize worth $5,000. During the game, if the contestant reaches the section for which they have a pit pass, they simply show Alex the pass, hand it to him, and skip over that section. And unfortunately, this has meant that on a few occasions, contestants have forgotten which sections they have pit passes for. Now, though Alex will sometimes remind them, it's not really his responsibility. He's got enough to keep track of as it is. So that's understandable. So the game works pretty well, albeit there's a bit of a disconnect between the main game and the bonus round because they really have nothing to do with each other. But it's an enjoyable half hour. And it functions. But unfortunately, the biggest thing that didn't function was the show's production company, Catalina Productions. Catalina Productions launched in the late 70s and was based out of Vancouver. They would produce a few notable shows during their short lifespan, including a show starring Stan Kahn, who had become famous for his appearances on The Tonight Show, where he could identify vacuum cleaners by their sound. They would also produce a variety show starring Tom Jones in 1980. Later that year, they reached an agreement with Hayes Hall Productions to produce a revival of Let's Make a Deal in Canada. And in 1981, they would launch Pitfall. Unfortunately, it seems that Catalina Productions kind of failed to realize what they were getting into. I mean, after all, producing television is expensive. In the case of the Tom Jones show, production costs went way over budget, and the distributor of the show, EPI Limited, sued Catalina Productions claiming breach of contract over their failing to pay certain contractually agreed to fees and for not handing over the master tapes of the episodes produced up to that point. They also claimed the company had been financially irresponsible. The Catalina's president, Ian McClelland, claimed that it was nothing more than a smear campaign. However, Hayes Hall Productions would later sue with similar claims, claiming that they were owed over $200,000, and were also that they were making it difficult for stations to get tapes of the episodes of Let's Make a Deal that had been produced. The case would go all the way to the provincial Supreme Court, who ruled against Catalina Productions and granted Hayes Hall Productions' request for the company to be placed in receivership. All of this would occur while Pitfall was in production, and the receivership was declared before Pitfall premiered, which caused a big problem. Contestants, production staff, and the on-air talent never got paid. On game shows, contestants typically don't receive their prizes until sometime after the episode airs, and it's the responsibility of the producers to give them their prizes. But since they were broke, it couldn't be done. This would also affect some contestants on Let's Make a Deal, as well as all of the contestants on Pitfall. The losses for Catalina Productions were staggering, as the company was nearly $3.5 million in debt when it went bust. Amongst its debts, unpaid fees to storage facilities in the U.S. and unpaid customs fees, leaving prizes stuck in the United States, unpaid salaries to workers, tens of thousands of dollars owed to Global, $210,000 to Hayes Hall Productions, and more than $500,000 to the Canadian government. And when I mention unpaid salaries of staff, that included Pitfall host Alex Trebek. I will read you the exact quote from Alex Trebek's autobiography. The answer is Reflections of My Life. Battlestars didn't last more than 6 months. I was then offered a job to host a game show called Pitfall to be taped in Vancouver. This was during a difficult time in my life. My father was sick with cancer, and Elaine and I had just divorced. I needed the money for my new house. The job was supposed to pay me $49,000, which was a nice amount of money back then. The one caveat was I had to be a member of the Canadian Union, otherwise they couldn't hire me. No problem. I'd long been a member of the Alliance of Canadian Cinema, Television, and Radio Artists, so I signed the contract. Then I got up there, and the union said I couldn't work on the show because the production company was not a signatory to the union agreement. There was a big dispute. The head of the show said that if I didn't perform, they were going to sue me for breach of contract, and the union said that if I did perform, I'd be in trouble with them. Finally, they got it all resolved. We did 13 weeks of the show, and they paid me. Then we did another 13 weeks, but this time the check didn't clear. I went to the union and asked them to help. They said there was nothing they could do. That really ticked me off. I had stood up for them during the dispute with the production company, and now they weren't willing to stand up for me. Through other channels, I discovered that I was one of dozens of people the show hadn't paid, such as set carpenters and other craftspeople. I framed the check and hung it on the wall behind my desk where I am writing this. It was the only time in my life I ever got stiffed on a payment. Whenever I think of the guy who did it, I recall Mark Twain's famous line, "If ever I should hear of this sudden demise, I will forgo all other forms of entertainment in order to attend his funeral." In the later stages of Pitfall, the prize structure was changed, with the contestant receiving a prize worth about $500 for reaching the halfway point, and a $2,500 prize package for clearing the bridge. And it's clear why the budget was reduced. They were trying to cut their losses and survive as long as they could. But it was too late, and the show was canceled, and the company was done. Global would continue to air reruns for a few years, much to the despise of Alex Trebek and many of the contestants who never got paid. And Alex didn't get any royalties from those reruns either. So this was basically the start of Alex hitting a rough patch in his career. He would bounce from flop to flop for a few years, and hosted a number of forgettable pilots. But he made the best of a bad situation and kept rolling with the punches. Jeopardy would come along in 1984, and the rest is history. So moral of the story, kids, if you're running a business, make sure you have the money to do it and pay your bills. Namely, make sure your staff get paid, and if you're producing a game show, don't make promises you can't deliver. Pitfall had promise, but poor management caused it to meet its demise. It's a lesson how not to run a production company. And considering how Alex recovered from it, it's a lesson of when life throws you lemons, make lemonade, and things will all work out. So that's going to do it for this edition of the Games of Canada. On behalf of all of us, this is Mark Power saying long may your big jib draw.